Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to do a print using scratch foam and markers. So let's get started. I have designed a very simple Kandinsky inspired abstract piece of art. I started on a piece of thin copy paper. I used my pencil, and now I'm going to transfer this onto my scratch foam board. I'll take a piece of tape and make sure that my scratch foam board is cut to the same size as my design. I'm going to tape down the top and the bottom. Now that it's taped on there and it's nice and secure, I'm going to use a ballpoint pen, and this is a blue ballpoint pen so I can see a little better, and I am going to trace all of my lines. I want to make sure I push a little bit. Don't over push on this because you just need an indent on the foam underneath. When it comes to a dot like this, I am just going to go around the outside of it. Anything that you have filled in. Since this is Kandinsky inspired, I did some dots, I did some lines, and I do want to taper some of my lines that I have on here. So which means some areas are going to be thicker and some areas are going to be thinner. And when I get to the thicker parts, all I'm going to do is just trace where the thicker part is. Once you have your entire design traced, you're going to carefully take the tape off or just separate it away from your design like that. And make sure that you put your name on the back of this. Don't press too hard, but make sure your name goes on the back. Okay. Now you can see your design imprinted inside of this template. So now you're going to very carefully trace over your lines with pen. So you're using the pen so that it just kind of presses down. You could use your pencil. Either one doesn't matter. You want to take your time and trace your lines slow, because I always have the tendency to want to make a rogue line and go outside of what I already have impressed in the foam. Very easy to do. It's very, very easy to do. So just take your time and go around each mark and line up your pen tip or whatever you're using with that impression that you already have in the foam. So now this is my print template. I can print over and over again, and that's the whole idea behind making a print. Now comes the really exciting part. We're going to color this, and we are going to use Crayola markers. So think about what colors you want to add in your piece and start to color in. And when you do color in, with Crayola markers, since they are water soluble, you can actually blend these. So I'm going to blend this from this darker blue to a lighter blue right on the edge. And then I'm going to repeat in certain areas. Make sure when you're coloring that you have the direction of how you want it to look on the paper. So what I'm saying is, if I go in little circles, it might show up as little circles on my print, on my paper when I'm done. So I'm going to repeat some of these colors over here. Let's see, we're going to go these areas here that I have on my piece. I'm actually going to fill these in with black, and you're going to see that later. So I can actually leave those white, or I can use black to kind of show myself that I'm gonna make these black when this is all done, and I've printed this already. Because you can put the black on afterwards. What's going to happen is when you print this, the areas that are impressed are going to be left the color of the paper. So I'm using white paper, and that is going to be white when I print this.
I'm going to start on another color scheme so that I can show you a different way to blend and feather your colors. You're going to get a lightly damp paper towel and kind of crunch it up in your fingers a little bit. Use the corner, and you can blot very lightly against the edge of your color that you would like to be feathered or blended in with another color. All feathering means is that you're trying to achieve a seamless blend. So for my gray background, I'd like some of the area to be the darker gray and to just slowly dissipate into nothing. So I don't have a hard edge on where I stop coloring with the gray. I've always loved Kandinsky's work. It's so dynamic because of those colors that he uses, how he blends and feathers the colors in the background, and how he uses colors inside and around objects. Also, you can't forget his use of lines in his work. It creates such a great interest. People are drawn to abstract art because the colors and shapes speak to them. This piece particularly speaks to me because I see Cheetah in it. She's just upside down. And now we're off to the prints. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure your hands are clean. Then you'll go get your bucket of water, a couple paper towels, and your watercolor paper. Now you're going to take your paper towel and fold it. Make sure it kind of looks like a flat area where it's almost like a squeegee for you to put water across your paper. Dip your paper towel into the water and make sure it's not too wet. Then you're going to rub it across your paper horizontally. And make sure you keep going horizontally across the paper. It will be like a sheen of water on top of your paper. Then you're going to go the opposite way, up and down. Go across your whole paper, up and down, and look at it. Hold it up a little bit to the light and see if you can kind of see a shiny surface. It shouldn't be super watery. You don't want a puddle of water there. Now you're going to flip over your print, put it directly down into the center of your paper. Position it in the center. Hold your template down with one hand, get a flat paper towel, and put it over the top. Now you're going to secure one hand down. Hold down that template with one hand and move the other hand across the entire template. You want to make sure you're rubbing every single spot of that template so that your print comes out everywhere. Once you have every spot done, you're going to take everything off and reveal your print. It is the most exciting part. And there we go. Not completely done yet. Let's make sure that we label it and let it dry. Now all you have to do to make another print or clean it up is take your paper towel, get a little water on it, wipe down that template. Make sure all the marker is off. Then dry it up. Now you're ready to color it up and make another print. Okay, the last step to this awesome abstract print project is to use a Sharpie on the last part. Since I use Kandinsky as an inspiration, I have all these lines that kind of go through and dots and things like that. So I am going to put these lines back in with my Sharpie very, very, very carefully. I go really slow because I don't want to slip up. I'm using
a thicker Sharpie because the lines are pretty prominent. And then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to taper and thicken up some of these lines. The key to this is to go slow. All right. Now, in some areas, I have these dots. I'm going to go around. And I might fill in a little bit. Maybe I'll leave a little bit of that marker that was down. Now I am going to trace around my objects as well. This is something that you can decide to do or not to do. I do like the look of everything being traced. So I'm going to go around and I am going to trace around all of my objects. All of my shapes, actually. Now I'm going to show you what you can do with these lines, tapering your lines. So on my curves, I'm going to thicken up very carefully. I'm going to thicken up those lines. So, you know, you're just going with the round part of that curve and then you're just fading right into it. You want to do this, like I said, very carefully. Let's get a closer look on this. I'm going to start a little lower and start to curve this around and then go right back into the line and follow the line just slightly. Then I'm going to fill a little bit of that. If you can get a lot of these, it adds a lot of character and dynamic to your piece. So go slow, that's the key. Go slow when you're doing this. Make that line stand out. I like the look of a print where you can see some of the paper through as well. So I don't necessarily go through and fill in everything that is right next to it. And you want to make sure you got a nice sharp point on your Sharpie. Okay, so this is a slow process. This is definitely a really prominent part of your work, so make sure that you're taking the time on this. Slow, deliberate lines. Okay, I'll finish this up and get back to you. And there it is, all finished up. So make sure you go slow with your Sharpie, make your deliberate lines, make sure that if you do have like a big area, you know, maybe you don't want to fill in the entire thing. So here's a couple of them. I just absolutely love this project. I think it has a lot of potential. So good luck to you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Cheetos, speak!